Security guard pushed an 80-year-old man before 40 bikers. What happened next shocked everyone. The evening air outside Miller's diner was clean as a whistle, fry oil, coffee, and the low thunder of idling bikes. We'd just killed the engines when an old man in a blue cap shuffled along the curb, paper sack tucked to his chest, the brim stitched with a tiny golden eagle. He moved careful, like every step had to be negotiated. A security guard cut across the lot, neon vest slashing the dusk. Young, square jaw, sunglasses too dark for twilight. "No loitering," he barked, palm out. The old man blinked. "I'm headed home, son. Lot's closed. Keep moving." The guard stepped closer, chest puffed, trying to win a fight he'd invented. The paper sack crumpled in the old man's hands. "Easy," I called. Too late. The guard shoved him, 2 hands, full weight. The old man stumbled back, heel caught the curb, and he sat down hard on the asphalt. The paper sack split. A framed photo slid free, glass spiderwebbing. He looked at it first, not his elbow, like the picture could bleed. 40 heads turned as one. Our row straightened. You could feel the temperature drop without the thermometer moving. The guard sneered toward the bikes. "Mind your business." The old man tried to rise and couldn't. I reached him first, palm under his shoulder. "You okay, sir?" He swallowed, voice dusty. "Name's Walter. 80 next month." He nodded at the shattered frame. "That was my wife on our first ride, 64 Panhead. She's been gone a while." Jax, our road captain, knelt to gather the pieces, thumb careful around the broken glass. "We'll fix it," he said, and meant more than a frame. The guard swaggered over, point made, victory pose loaded. "He tripped," he announced to the air. "Old folks fall. Not my problem." A waitress in the doorway froze, apron in her fist. "He buys coffee here every night," she said. "He waits for the crosswalk light." "You didn't have to." "Back inside," the guard snapped. Jack stood up slow. "You put hands on a man who wasn't a threat." "Who are you, cop?" the guard shot back. "No," Jack said. "Neighbor." Walter's elbow trembled under my hand. His eyes were bright and wet, not from pain. From the humiliation of the ground. He looked past me to the guard. "You don't talk to people like they're garbage," he said, voice steadying. "I wore that eagle so you could talk at all." The guard smirked. "Congratulations on the hat." Phones rose like a tide. Truckers at the pumps paused. Neon buzzed like a wasp trapped in a jar. I helped Walter to the bench by the diner door. The waitress brought a damp towel, a fresh cup, a little tremor in the saucer. The guard paced, narrating the scene to himself, daring someone to challenge his version. I glanced at Jax. He gave a small nod. We weren't going to shout. We were going to witness. And that's when a patrol car rolled past the corner, indifferent as the moon, until Walter's voice, soft but clear, cut through the lot. "Son, will somebody please help me stand up to this?" The patrol car slowed, brake lights washing the diner windows red. The deputy scanned the lot, saw the phones, the row of bikes, the old man with the towel on his elbow. He pulled in, calm face, practiced eyes. "What's happening?" he asked. The guard got there first. "Trespasser fell. These bikers are agitating my sight." Walter lifted his cup with both hands. "I was walking home." The waitress spoke up. He shoved him. "Ma'am," the guard snapped, back inside. Jax didn't raise his voice. "Deputy, my cam's rolling." "So are theirs." He nodded down the line, helmet cameras blinking like quiet stars. He put 2 hands on the man. The deputy's gaze moved, collecting details the way a carpenter reads a wall. "Sir," he said to Walter, "do you need medical?" "I need dignity," Walter said. "That'll do." The guard folded his arms. "You all want to play lawyer. Here's mine. I can trespass anyone. Starting with your clubhouse." The diner manager stepped out, keys on a belt loop. "This lot is shared with 3 businesses and the city. Walter's a paying customer." The guard grinned without humor. "And I'm the one hired to keep the riffraff moving." Jax inclined his head toward the deputy. "You hear that?" The deputy thumbed his radio, voice flat. "Dispatch, start a unit for a disturbance at Miller's. Also requesting supervisor." A pickup rolled past and slowed when the driver saw Walter's cap. He honked once, a soft, neighborly note, and parked. A gray-haired woman in scrubs crossed from the bus stop. "I saw him push," she said, quiet and certain. "He did it." The guard's jaw worked. He raised a finger at a teenager filming. "Put that down." The kid didn't blink. "Public place." The deputy stepped between them. "Enough." He turned to Walter. "Sir, may I see your ID?" Walter set the cup down and reached for his wallet. His hand shook, The waitress steadied the saucer with one fingertip. When Walter opened the cracked leather, a pair of old dog tags slid out and clinked against the table. The sound changed the lot. The phones came a breath closer. The deputy's face softened by a degree you could measure. "Name's Walter Keene," the old man said. "I taught kids to ride in safer days. Tonight I got taught about curbs." Somewhere down the block, a black SUV darted into the lane and swung hard into the entrance. Company logo on the door. The guard's shoulders rose. "Supervisor," he announced, triumph curling the word. A man in a suit climbed out, tie still tight, smile already chosen. "Evening. I'm Mr. Carver. Liability stays low if we keep the homeless off their feet." Walter blinked at him. "I own the house with the red door on Willow." Carver's smile didn't change. "Sir, for your safety, you're trespassed." The deputy lifted a hand. "No one's trespassed until I finish." Carver flicked his eyes at the guard. "Body cam on?" "Always," the guard lied. Jax tapped his helmet. "Good. So is ours." Carver's smile cooled. He leaned toward Walter's bench. "Stand up. You're leaving." Walter set his jaw. "I'll stand when decency does." The guard stepped in, hand angling for Walter's arm, the same grip that had put him on the asphalt. The deputy barked, "Don't." The guard reached anyway. The guard's fingers grazed Walter's sleeve, and 40 boots shifted in unison. Not a rush, not a shove. Just a wall of presence, shoulders squared, cameras up. The move froze him like cold water. "Hands off the elder," Jack said, calm as a metronome. Carver's smile cracked. "This is intimidation." "This is witnessing," I answered. "Big difference." The deputy stepped between the hands and the man. "Security, step back. Now." He tapped his mic, "Expedite that supervisor." His eyes cut to Carver. "And if your guy's body cam malfunctioned, mine didn't." Phones hovered like patient hawks. The woman in scrubs lifted her chin. I saw 2 hands. "I'm willing to sign." A bus hissed at the corner and emptied a small river of people into the scene. Some recognized Walter. A mechanic in a stained shirt pointed at him. "He fixed my first bike for free." Heads nodded, murmurs warming into words that meant something like enough. Carver adjusted his tie. "Deputy, this is a private contract. We'll handle internal discipline." Walter took a breath that steadied the cup in his hands. Internal discipline doesn't fix the way pavement feels. A second cruiser slid in. Sergeant Alvarez climbed out, reading the whole plot in a blink. Broken glass, dog tags, the set of the crowd's shoulders. "Who's hurt?" she asked. Walter raised a palm. "Just pried an elbow." "Who touched him?" Alvarez turned to the guard. He started to talk. Alvarez held up a finger. "Save it." She gestured to Jax. "Show me." Jax scrubbed back the helmet footage. The shove, the stumble, the frame kissing concrete, the guard's mouth forming the word riffraff. Alvarez watched without blinking. When it ended, she looked at Carver. "Your contractor is detained for battery on an elder." Carver flared. "You can't." "Public place, multiple witnesses, video evidence," Alvarez said. "I can." She nodded to the deputy. The click of cuffs sounded like punctuation that had been waiting all night. The guard found his voice as steel circled his wrists. He tripped. "Then why are your hands out in the video?" Alvarez asked. Silence. Carver took a step toward Walter, swapping tactics. "Sir, on behalf of our firm, I apologize for any." "Stop," Walter said gently. "Mean it or don't say it." Carver's mouth opened and closed. Nothing came. Jax knelt and lifted the broken frame. "We've got a shop," he told Walter. "We'll replace the glass. We'll clean the photo. We'll mount it in a way no fall can touch." Walter looked at each of us, eyes shining with a kind of relief that made my throat tight. My wife always said, people are louder than engines if they want to be. Guess she was right. The diner manager brought out a fresh slice of pie on the house. The teenager who'd filmed handed Alvarez his info. The woman in scrubs wrote her name and number on a napkin. A mechanic promised to testify. The crowd didn't crow or jeer, they settled like a muscle unclenching. Alvarez turned to Carver. "Your firm will provide a written apology and retraining plan. You'll also pay for the frame." He bristled, then saw the row of phones and managed a nod. Jax tapped the bench. "Walter, you feel up to a ride home?" Walter's smile deepened the creases at his eyes. "Haven't said no to a ride in 60 years. We formed a slow escort to Willow Street, engines purring like a vow, the town watching itself choose who it wanted to be. We rolled slow down Willow, chrome flickering in porch lights, Walter perched behind Jax like he'd never left the saddle. At the house with the red door, neighbors drifted out. Someone clapped, someone teared up, somebody saluted the blue cap. Walter lifted 2 fingers off the grab bar in a modest wave, the kind men use when pride and shyness share a pocket. Inside, the living room smelled like cedar and old polish. On the mantel sat a second, unbroken photo of a younger Walter and a woman with laughter in her eyes, hair pinned by the wind. "Ruth," he said, touching the frame. She liked engines. Said they sounded like a promise kept. On the coffee table, Jax laid the shattered picture. "We'll fix this tonight." He pulled a microfiber cloth, eased the photo free, and slid it into a cardboard sleeve like a priest handling relics. "Our shop's 5 blocks. Glass mount, the works." Outside, Sergeant Alvarez briefed Carver by the curb, voice low but firm. "Battery on an elder, report filed, court date will follow. In the meantime, a written apology to Mr. Keene, retraining for your staff, and a donation to the Veterans Shelter, public, not buried in accounting." Carver swallowed. "A number?" "Enough to sound like regret," Alvarez said. "You'll read the apology at the diner tomorrow at 6. He deserves to hear it where it happened." Word traveled fast in towns that remember themselves. At 6 sharp, the lot filled. Cooks in aprons, kids on handlebars, the woman in scrubs, the teenager with his phone, the mechanic with grease on his knuckles. We parked in a crescent. Walter arrived in a pressed shirt, the blue cap clean as church. Carver stood on a milk crate, paper shaking. "Mr. Keene," he read, the polish stripped from his voice, "we failed you. We were careless with authority and cruel with our assumptions. We're sorry." He looked up, bare for once. "We'll do better." The guard who'd shoved Walter wasn't there. He'd been suspended pending the case. No one cheered for that. The only sound was coffee pouring and forks on plates, normal life returning like circulation to a numb hand. Jax unveiled the repaired frame. New glass, clean edges, the old photo centered in a matte the color of road dusk. The lot leaned in as if warmed by a small fire. Walter ran a finger along the edge, breath catching. "Ruth," he said, voice gone soft. "Look who rode with me." The waitress set a stool. Walter climbed onto it with care and faced the crowd. "I don't need parades," he said. "I needed a line I could lean on." He looked at the bikes, at Alvarez, at the faces that had chosen to be here. "Thank you for being that line. We didn't rev. We didn't chant. We just stood, engines quiet, hearts loud, while the town practiced remembering how to be a town." The next week settled in like a good jacket, familiar, sturdy, warmer than it looked. Miller's Diner added a corkboard by the door and called it the witness wall. Folks pinned small promises there. A mechanic's free brake check for elders, a teacher's card for GED tutoring, a note in a child's careful hand that read, "I will say something." Sergeant Alvarez came by with printed flyers. The state statute on battery against the elderly, the city's complaint line, how to request bodycam footage. She didn't give a speech. She taped them up, nodded to Walter, and ordered the lemon pie. Carver returned without a crate or a script. He shook Walter's hand and spoke plain, no polish, no spin. The firm paid for the frame, cut a check to the shelter big enough to make a dent, and sent their crew to a de-escalation class hosted by the VFW hall. The guard who shoved Walter would meet a judge. The process would take its time, as real processes do. Walter kept the repaired photo on his mantle and a copy behind the counter at Miller's. On Tuesdays he sat by the window with a crossword and a coffee. Sometimes he'd tell a kid about the panhead and the way a carburetor smells when it's honest. Sometimes he'd say nothing at all, just watch Main Street remember itself. We didn't crown ourselves heroes. We kept the code. Witness first, record second, escalate never. A neighbor is a job you do with your feet and your voice and your patience. One evening, as the sun turned the roofs into hammered copper, Walter waved us over. He tapped the empty stool beside him. "Ruth used to say," he began, "that engines are a kind of language. Loud, sure, but only useful if they take you somewhere worth going." He looked at the crescent of bikes, at the wall of pinned promises, at the faces that had learned to look up when a voice went small. "Thanks for taking me somewhere worth going." We fired up to leave, engines low, the sort of rumble that doesn't drown out a hello. Headlights tipped to the street. Chrome caught the last of the day. In the glass, I saw the town, ordinary, flawed, capable, staring back like someone who'd decided to stand a little taller. If you'd been there, at the moment a shove met a line that wouldn't budge, what part would you have played? The world tilts toward what we stand for. Tell me what you stand for. A month later, the witness wall had grown from a corkboard into a map of small courage. On a Tuesday, the diner hummed with silverware and easy talk when a commotion rose on the sidewalk. Short, sharp voices, the scrape of a chair. We stepped out to find a teenager in a store polo tugging the sleeve of a shabby man dozing on the bench. "You can't sleep here," the kid snapped, louder than he needed to be. The man blinked awake, confused, clutching a paper bag like a life vest. Before Jax or I could move, someone else crossed the space in 3 long strides. The security guard. No vest. No sunglasses. Plain clothes, hands open and visible. "Hey," he said to the kid, voice level. "We don't put hands on people." He angled his body, creating a little shield of shade for the man on the bench. "Try starting with a question. Sir, you okay? Need water?" The kid flushed. He's not supposed to be here." "Maybe," the guard said, "but we're supposed to be human." He knelt, not to restrain, but to meet the man's eyes. "You want a coffee?" The man nodded, small and grateful. The guard looked up at us then, saw the bikes, the stairs, the memory of what he'd done, and didn't look away. "I'm still learning." Inside, he paid for 2 coffees and brought them out without announcements. Walter stood in the doorway, cap bright as a bell. The guard approached him like a man approaching a grave he's finally ready to visit. He held out a folded letter with trembling fingers. "For you," he said. "From the class. And from me." Walter unfolded it. Simple words. No varnish. "I was wrong. I'm trying to be a boundary, not a shove. If you'll let me, I'd like to volunteer at the shelter on Thursdays." Walter considered him for a long moment, the way a craftsman studies a dent before deciding whether it can be worked out. Then he smiled the smallest smile. "Thursdays need hands," he said. They shook. No photo. No spectacle. Just a hinge turning in the middle of a day. Back at the wall, someone had pinned a new card in a child's uneven print. "I will be a boundary." Ruth's repaired photo caught a ribbon of sunlight and threw it back across the room. Engines murmured to life, low and kind. The town felt different again, not because a villain was punished, but because a neighbor decided to be new. Most stories end at justice. The better ones start there. If you'd been there, if the shove, the stand, and the second chance were yours, what would you have done? Tell me below. And if there's a place near you that needs a boundary today, be it